We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream. Change has come to America.
Believe me.
Help is on the way.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
Fireworks and French flair, bringing the Paris Games to a close.
Aww.
The Olympic flame officially extinguished, the world's greatest athletes celebrating. And as the flag was passed to Los Angeles, this stunning moment straight out of Hollywood. Film star Tom Cruise jumping from the top of the Stade de France, then leaping on a motorcycle, heading for LA. Using a little movie magic to add the Olympic rings to the famous Hollywood sign. Carrying the flag for Team USA during the closing ceremonies, swimmer Katie Ledecky and rower Nick Mead, who both helped the US tie China for the most gold. But for one member of the American team, Jordan Childs, a difficult end to the game. USA Gymnastics battling a decision to take away her bronze medal over the timing of an appeal. Team USA sweeping more medals on Friday, Saturday and Sunday. Sha'Carri Richardson staring down opponents on the home straight for the 4x100 relay. Wild celebrations followed. In the 4x400, both the US men and women taking gold. And in the basketball, after the US men took a fifth straight Olympic gold against the home team, France, the American women did the same, winning in the final seconds of their game, earning their 8th consecutive gold. Now the next Summer Games head to LA in 2028. The French president with this advice for Los Angeles in a US exclusive interview with NBC News.
I would say, be yourself. Los Angeles is Los Angeles. Deliver your games, but audacity is key. Never stop. You will make it.
Never stop. You will make it. The audacity is key. LA. Hey, the Olympiad is over. Oh, it was a beautiful opening. It was a beautiful closing. Did you see that? Did you see the closing? Did you understand the stage? I did not understand the stage for a very long time. And then I was watching the gymnastics / dance moves of the people who were making the wheel. And then the wheel became the rings. And then the rings descended onto the stage in a place that would be Greece if the stage were a map. Oh, how artistic can they get over there in the France? Wow. I mean, it was almost as good as Gojira playing the heavy metal with Marie Antoinette's head on a platter. It was very entertaining. I have to say, the actual hosting of the Olympiad was freaking amazing. It was really well done. And remember, it started a little, dicey. We started with like some sort of a little, attack over there and on the trains, and we were nervous, and everybody was, oh my God, my panties are in a bunch. Don't let your panties get in a bunch. But, a lot of it was, just beautiful, and the hosting of it was excellent, I have to say. Fudgy muffins or some such thing, chocolate muffins from the Olympic Village. Everybody wants that recipe. I know how to make them. I'll put it on my Instagram. That's what I use my Instagram account for, just foods that I make. That's all. I forgot to take a picture of your cranberry bread. Oh, damn it.
You better make it quick.
I better make it quick. I will do that. Don't eat it yet. Well, you know what? I have one for here. I'll take a picture of that one.
You've got it displayed nicely in the kitchen right now. I think that would be a good...
You liked it, huh?
Oh, my God.
The presentation.
The glaze. Oh,
the presentation, though, I'm talking. Like in the kitchen for the other people that work here.
Oh, it looks very nice.
See? And that's what I'm talking about with the Olympiad. I mean, it's all about the presentation is really what
LA's got a lot to live up to.
Yeah.
They really did a great job.
Now, you just know that we're going to hear a lot of Sheryl Crow. This is L.A. All I want to do is, that's going to be everywhere. It's going to be, and speaking of music, what the hell went on at Donald Trump's rally? I don't know if anybody watched this, but you see, I am that geek, okay? Friday night's entertainment was so good for me and the Howard because it was 50-50, something for me, something for him, right? We had the Kamala Harris rally, I believe it was in Glendale, Arizona. And then it went all the way through to about 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock, I had my beers on. I was feeling really good. I said, we're going to win. I was running around the house. I was in a very good mood. And then at 10 o'clock, the Trump rally from Montana began. And so we had it on the TV awaiting its beginnings, okay? The music there, do you know what they did? And this is how you know people read about it or they watched it, okay? Do you know that they played the same 7 songs ahead of Donald Trump's appearance there in Montana over and over and over again? I mean, those people, it was like they were like they were trying to break their brains or something. It was like revenge music. It was like revenge rock. I don't even know what the hell that song was. They started on the playlist. The playlist started with some AC/DC song, and it wasn't Thunderstruck, okay? And it wasn't any of the ones you know. It wasn't Back in Black. It wasn't Hell's Bells. It wasn't Whole Lotta Rosie. It wasn't any of those. It was some weird underbelly AC/DC deep track that never ever made it, that nobody liked or something. And they started with that one, okay, and then he shifted into a video. I mean, they were showing videos of super. I'm thinking of all these, freaking, hey, we'll move from Minnesota, we'll buy a ranch, put on some work boots and a work shirt, some khakis, and call ourselves Montanans. And run for the Senate. I mean, that is kind of the candidate that you have out there. It looks like he came from Central Casting with his grease-back blonde hair. Just in case you don't know who that guy is, his name is Tim Sheehy, and he is from Minnesota. Okay, he's running against Tester in Montana for his Senate seat. And this guy is a front-running phony. He's a fake. He's a fraud. They all are. JD is too. He thinks he's from Appalachia, but he's from the exurbs of Cincinnati. Do you know what I mean? I mean, like, I don't know what these posers think they're doing, but we'll talk about it. Anyway, the music. So he comes out to, the 7-song playlist that includes videos. And one of the videos, it was Freddie Mercury. The gayest Freddie Mercury, video that you could come up with. I think it's the one from Live Aid. Okay, which is one of the best performances ever, and I am a huge Queen fan, so don't F with me on this, okay? But it was Bohemian Rhapsody, where, the guy is talking. The song is about killing a man. I have a playlist, okay? I have a playlist in my music playlists called School Shooter, okay? And it's, I swear to God, it's every freaking song about, I bet you don't even know this, but Steely Dan has a song called Don't Take Me Alive. Okay. And that is a school shooter song. It is. It's a song about a guy who, he's a bookkeeper's son. He doesn't want to hurt no one. He crossed his old man back in Oregon. Don't Take Me Alive. It's about a guy who actually, I believe, killed his father and then goes and tries to get killed by cop, suicide by cop. So I have a whole playlist. Bohemian Rhapsody is one of those too. Mama just killed a man, put a gun upside his head, pulled the trigger. Now he's dead. So that's one of those songs. They're playing that song over and over and over and over again. The live version from I'm like, oh my God! And then they follow it with Celine Dion, the theme song from Titanic. Do you think he knows? Do you think he knows he's on a sinking ship? I don't know. And then they play Broadway show tunes, everybody. Swear to God, in Montana, he's playing Memory from Cats. Seriously. I don't know how many people caught that playlist. I don't know how many people actually. I know everybody was, hip to the fact that they played the theme song from Titanic, My Heart Will Go On by Celine Dion. Why? Because Celine Dion filed a complaint against the Trump campaign saying, please stop playing my music. Rene would not like it. Rene would not like the audacity of playing My Heart Will Go On. He's dead, but. So I know everybody knows that part, but oh my God, this playlist was like, it was either a cry for help or it was signaling that he's about to do something super gross, okay? I think, truly, he's feeling his feelings. And what I ever tell you, if he felt his feelings ever, his brain would explode. He would implode. It's on.
All things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
Donald Trump is rattled.
The Trump crowd is smaller than the Harris-Walz crowd was.
He's mad.
Trump was complaining that an estimated 10,000 people were at Harris's event.
He's upset.
The school administration stopped us from getting another 500, 600, even 1,000 people in.
Oh, Donald, do you ever stop whining?
Kamala, she was here a week ago, lots of empty seats.
Not enough people want to go to his rallies anymore. They want to go to Kamala Harris's rallies. Enjoy the rallies while they last, Donald, because where you're going, you're not going to be able to have any. Learn more at psychopac.org. Anti-Psychopath PAC Inc. is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Psychopac! Oh, God. That's Kellyanne Conway's ex-husband there. That's George Conway's PAC. He started a super PAC for the benefit of the Harris-Walz ticket. And it's, instead of psychopath, it's psychopac. He is melting down. I mean, you know, he actually is posting on his Truth Social thing, whatever that thing is, that the... You remember the entrance? We said this is the way you pull up in Detroit, and we showed you this. You know, it was just really, it was awesome. Look at that crowd, man. Okay.
No,
I can't stop listening to that song.
It's all AI. That's
yeah, you saw that. Okay.
Not real.
All right. So that started to happen on the internets. You know, wackadoodles on the right were saying there was no one there. It was all AI. It was, you know, I don't even know what this they would do like a zoom in on a person's phone. And of course it gets, you know, pixelated. So you can't tell what's on the person. They go, I can't even tell what's on the person's phone. Yes, because you zoomed in and it's pixelated. And Donald Trump actually repeated it. He put it on his Truth Social. He said no one was there. He said it was all fake. It was all AI. And that Kamala is a cheat. She's a cheat. Oh, talk about projection. He is literally falling apart at the seams. He is coming apart. And this is going to be big fun to watch because nobody deserves it more than that psycho who has literally done so much to the soul of America, literally damaged our soul. You know, Charles M. Blow and other people, you know, Joe Biden, who is fabulous. What a great president. We are so lucky that at this moment in our history, where this man who has run, imagine this, Donald Trump's been on a ballot 3 times already. Yeah, when you say it like that, it doesn't sound so new and modern and good, does it? No, he's been on a ballot 3 times. The first time he eked out a win because James Comey opened up an investigation because the Rudy Giuliani's of the world, the James Kallstrom, the former FBI guy in the New York field office, and Rudy decided that they would, sit on Anthony Weiner's computer. Do you remember this story from all those many years ago? So for the young ones now who are just, you know how many 40 million new voters entered the rolls? Do you know that? 40 million new voters entered the rolls. 10 million of Trump's voters died. The boomers, they died since he was, on the ballot in 2016. So here we are, the third election with Donald Trump on the ticket, Donald Trump on the ballot, right? And we just, Joe Biden actually realized that I really do believe Joe Biden would have won. I mean, there's just no question in my mind. It would have been ultra close. It would have been a squeaker. But I can't imagine Joe Biden losing Pennsylvania, the kid from Scranton and all that, right? Make a long story short, he realized the down ballot was being jeopardized, right? That people who were running for the Senate, a third of the Senate has to run every election cycle. And he realized that he was hurting their chances, that everybody in the House has to run for re-election every 2 years. And he was hurting chances of, House members to get back the majority because the Republicans have the majority in the House by 1 seat. One. That's how close we are to having all the committee chairmanships. That's how close we are to having Hakeem Jeffries as the Speaker of the House, which would be a great thing for every person who works for a living. I mean, just the best thing you could possibly hope for, to have Hakeem Jeffries as the Speaker of the House, as great as Nancy Pelosi was at wrangling Democrats. Hakeem Jeffries, learn from the best and we'll do it. So he realized, Biden did, that yes, he could stay in and probably eke out a win for himself and for the administration, but that the rest of the people on the ballots, the rest of them would probably suffer, right? And so he decided that he was going to pass the torch. And he gave an interview this weekend, which was really, it was the exact opposite of what Trump is saying Biden's feeling. You know, Trump was saying on the stage the other day, why we listen to anything he says, I don't really know anymore. Soon he will just be a number in the prison system. You know, soon he will be inmate number whatever 4495672. That's it.
You know, people are talking a lot about, oh, Donald, you're not going to have rallies in jail, Donald in jail. Let's not act like he's not the patron saint of criminals. I feel like he'll do fine in there. I really do.
What, in prison?
Yeah.
He'll be okay.
He's a big hero.
Well, they're not going to send him to a supermax, okay? He's going to go to, like, Danbury minimum security penitentiary for, wayward fraudsters, or wherever they put, white-collar criminals. Like, where did they put Bernie Madoff? He's dead now, isn't he? I think everybody we're talking about today is pretty much dead. I think he's dead. Yes, I do. And but where did they put him? That's the question I need answered. Thank you. But anyway, Biden was interviewed about why he got out of the race. Why did he get out?
Polls we had showed that it was a neck-and-neck race. Would have been down to the wire.
Yep.
But what happened was a number of my Democratic colleagues in the House and Senate thought that I was going to hurt them in the races. And I was concerned if I stayed in the race, that would be the topic. You'd be interviewing me about why did Nancy Pelosi say, why did someone, and I thought it'd be a real distraction, number one. Number two, when I ran the first time, I thought of myself as being a transition president.
Right.
I can't even say how old I am. It's hard for me to get out of my mouth. And but things got moving so quickly, it didn't happen. And the combination was that I thought it was a critical issue for me, still is not a joke, maintaining this democracy. But I thought it was important because although it's a great honor being president, I think I have an obligation to the country to do the most important thing to do, and that is we must defeat Trump.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine Donald Trump doing the same? Can you imagine? I mean, this is a guy who lost the election and claims that he is the president. And here you have a president who won the election and is giving up power willingly because it's the right thing to do for the country. Because it's the right thing to do for the nation. Because country first. America. Yeah, I'm going to say it. Cover your ears, you maggots. America first. That's what it looks like. That's what it sounds like. That's what it includes. That's what it requires. Everything else, it's just another lie from another fraud.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randy, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
I want to be clear. I didn't call anybody names. I spent enough years in that lunchroom to know bullies when I see them. I just made a very clear observation that they seem to be really concerned about. I pointed out that taking away reproductive freedoms, banning books, raising the price of insulin, trying to hurt labor unions, nobody's asking for that weird crap. No one's asking for it.
No one is asking for that. Nobody, they keep on insisting on the other side of the rally, debate stage or whatever it is, that everybody, according to, the fraudster there, that, needs to, die in prison is really what has to happen here. But he keeps on saying that everybody wanted Roe overturned. Everybody did. Everybody did. They all wanted it sent to the states. Nobody was asking for any of that crap. Nobody, except for a very hard right evangelical contingency of the sub-party of subhumans, the Republicans, okay? The Republican Party is not the Republican Party anymore. It's the Trump Party. And they are practicing a very weird kind of, minority politics, like white supremacists only. You know what I'm saying? And white supremacists that are specifically evangelical white Christian nationalists. It's a very scary party now. The Republican Party was always about big business. It was always about, profit taking. It was always about carving out tax breaks and loopholes in the tax code for the very the very wealthy and the corporate, et cetera, turning a blind eye to gouging and to monopolistic practices and, all of that. But now it's become like a blight on your soul. Basically, it's become a party of culture grievances, things about America that it hates. Now, the reason why I love the Olympics so much is because athletes that didn't look like me, athletes that didn't look like you, athletes that didn't sleep with the opposite sex, whatever it was, athletes competed 1-to-1 or 5, in a row in a race, or they competed for artistry, or they competed for synchronicity. They competed on these very, very severe rules, and somebody won. And when they won, it was joyous. It was so good. Even if you didn't know what the hell this sport was. They closed with like breakdancing. And I was like, breakdancing? Let me tell you something. The way that they presented it, it is a sport. It really was. It's sort of like gymnastics and synchronicity. It was plus dancing. You got to have sort of like the floor routine for the gymnasts, like that, but set to, freaking great music. Just incredible. Anyway, Brittany Griner. When the women's basketball team, that was like a 1-point game, right? 66-67. I mean, it was so breathtakingly close. It was just, everybody that showed up to play. It was one of those great, great games. And at the end, when she was on the podium and they got the gold medal, okay, they played our national anthem, and she had something in both hands. She had flowers in one hand, and in another hand, I forget, a box of something, I forget. And so she couldn't use her hands to wipe the tears away from her eyes. And so she tried to blink them back. She tried to swallow hard. She tried to be strong and not break down and cry. But she cried. And you know why it hit her so hard? Because I think it dawned on her, hearing our national anthem and being able to compete freely for this country that isn't just a bunch of rhetoric about freedom, that actually practices it, even when it's a little difficult, even when it's not the easiest thing to say we're all equal, but to actually prove that we're all equal. That's what this country is. And she stood up there and realized that she was worth fighting for, that America would fight for her and get her home, and that she could come home and she could be herself, and she could compete freely as herself. Herself could win gold, and then she could kiss her wife on the TV and then go home a champion to a new family. They have a new son. Sherelle and Brittany have a new son. And, it's just that kind of America is the kind of America that we dream about, that we say we are, that we very often don't actually show or represent or care for the way we should. But when you see her and when you feel her like that, don't you understand that that's the best way to be? Don't you understand that that's what freedom is, and that real freedom is not free, that you have to fight for her to bring her home, that you have to actually, respect her talent, and you don't have to agree with who she is or how she is or who she's married to, but you can't disagree that that is a talented basketball player who deserved to be there, and we needed to get her back home because that's who we are. It's who we are. I love that part of the Olympics. And what's so great is I mentioned the breakdancing. I don't know what the sport is yet. I don't even know if it's going to be in the next Olympiad. I don't even know if they're going to do it again, but it doesn't matter. You just watch it. Do you know that's the greatest thing about the Olympics? And I can't tell you how many people from all over the world said, men on the swim team, the guy from Britain that won, he said, "Oh, I can't wait to go home and kiss my husband." You know what I'm saying? That's the war. That's the war that the Republicans are fighting. They don't want him to be able to go home and kiss his husband. They don't want Brittany Griner on a platform crying because she feels free. They don't want that. They only want that for a small little, select few who believe just like them and won't do anything outside that box. That's not freedom. That's doctrinal. That's like, that's a lane. It's like, the mullahs. Oh, and now they're saying Iran hacked Donald Trump. Iran did. Iran hacked. So you know what the trifecta of Iran is. It's Iran, Russia, and North Korea. Okay, so if Iran hacked and they're playing the playbook from 2016, guess whose playbook that is? Yeah, it's Russia. So there you have it. I don't feel bad. And the news media, the Washington Post and Politico, they were getting documents. They've been getting documents from the Trump campaign. They don't print them, but they've been getting documents from the Trump campaign that had the vetting materials for J.D. Vance's vetting to become the Veep candidate. Never will be Veep, but, to make him the candidate. And they said they've been getting documents from the campaign since the beginning of the summer. I mean, who would say Iran was hacking Donald Trump besides for Donald Trump? Let me think. The pressure of a name like, who would want that to be true? Who would? That's right, Netanyahu. Yeah, because Netanyahu would love for Donald Trump to be elected, reelected, whatever you want to call it. They would love that. That would be, because then they could clear it all out and develop it as a Mediterranean seaside resort.
This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
Gaza's waterfront property. It could be very valuable to, if people would focus on kind of building up livelihood. It's a little bit of an unfortunate situation there, but I think from Israel's perspective, I would do my best to move the people out and then clean it up. I think proactively recognizing a Palestinian state would essentially be rewarding an act of terror that was perpetrated into Israel. So it's a super bad idea.
Super bad. What we need to do is clear out Gaza and develop it as a Mediterranean seaside resort is what I want to do, and I'm just the guy to do it. That's Jared, okay? That's Jared. It's a bad situation. The Middle East usually is. That's why it's the Middle East. Everybody's like, oh, this is all, Biden's fault. No, this is not Biden's fault. But if anybody wanted Donald Trump to win, it would be Benjamin Netanyahu. Oh, yeah, because his son-in-law would love to commit genocide and build a resort hotel / golf course on the Mediterranean in the desert. And they say it. They say it out loud. They say it to anybody who listened to them, and then they'll say, "We told you so. We said we were going to do that. Why are you so surprised? Promises made, promises kept." Like so sick, so sad, so brutal, so ugly. Such a. But you know what? That's the thing. We've been brutalized as a country. Our souls have been damaged by this kind of division, this kind of hatred, this kind of grievance, politics. This just, and Donald Trump is like a wounded animal at this point. You understand? And it's scary. It's scary because when he feels his feelings, and I do believe he's starting to feel his feelings, and his feelings are telling him he's a loser. His feeling, all of this bravado, all of this narcissism, all of this, talk and needing to be in front of crowds and having to have adulation and having to be worshipped, but still, in the end, always being a victim, always being the victim. They're always out to get him, right? That is all about masking his feelings, and his feelings tell him that he's no one special, that if he didn't inherit money from his daddy, he would be nothing and nobody, that if he, you know what I'm saying? And so the second reality starts to seep in to his, his frontal lobes. and he comprehends that he is a loser. He will hurt himself. He will. And that's why we need to put him in prison where he will die, because it's the only way to keep him safe from himself. It is. It truly is. I've seen it. I've seen people implode. It's not pretty. It's unfortunate. And, yes, he has the money to get the therapy, but he will not. He will not, because he doesn't comprehend what is going on with him. He doesn't understand his own brain. So instead, he would like to damage your soul, is what it is. And he's been very, very successful at damaging a good portion of America's soul in the last 3.5 years. Not by, having policies that could, that you miss, or by doing that. It's so interesting because they have three things. Okay? They have inflation, which is, there's like no inflation left to bitch about, okay? It's like the year-over-year normal inflation, it's slightly 1% higher than it should be, and we had no recession. We had none. The other day when the Japanese central bank, see what happened over there? The Japanese central bank actually did something weird with interest rates over there, and it had a ripple effect throughout the world, and when you saw the stock market react, Donald Trump was wishing for us a recession, wishing the worst for his own country, and trying to tell you that it was coming and that it was happening, and blaming it not on the Japanese doing something weird with interest rates, but blaming it on Joe Biden, who did nothing weird with interest rates. We've done everything that would guarantee us a soft landing, and if it wasn't for our unbelievable economy, the world would not look as good as it does. So much of the world is dependent on our economy being well, and it is. But anyway, he wishes us the worst. Donald Trump does. He roots against his own country, which is very sad and sick to begin with. But he only had three things. He had inflation, he had immigration, which, by the way, I checked today. Immigration, border apprehensions coming across the border, 56,000, the lowest since 2020. And in 2020, we had COVID. And Title 42, we don't have that anymore. And still, the Biden, plan works. It works. And what is that? Not to allow people who are seeking asylum to stay in the country. It works. They got a new president in Mexico now. I think her name's Claudia. And she's cooperating with us to keep people from Central America and South America from getting into Mexico, and stopping people who are migrating from south of Mexico into Mexico, therefore preventing the northern part of Mexico, our southern border, from being overwhelmed. So it's and also changing the rules for who can stay here, waiting for a claim of asylum. Now, obviously, we had an immigration package, and Donald Trump tanked it on purpose because he wanted this issue. He didn't think that anybody could fix it. Now, what I will say is that when you do something with an executive order, or you crack down on a thing, whatever it is, it's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of time before people find workarounds, right? That's why we needed this legislation. And Donald Trump rooted for America to be on the worst side of immigration, to have our borders overwhelmed consistently without helping, do anything. So he made some calls. He told the Republicans in the Senate, don't do it. I need the issue. So, and now it's down to the lowest crossings since 2020. And so he doesn't have that issue either. He doesn't have that one either. And the other issue he had, the third thing, was he was going to tie it, because when Donald Trump talks about the third issue, which is crime, it's not crime. It's not like, people, beating up their wives, or people stealing from a store. No, he calls it migrant crime. It's a certain sector of our population that he's looking at and pointing to when he says crime. That ain't happening either. Crime is also, it's year over year since Biden's been president, crime has been declining. Violent crime, homicides, shootings. I was watching some live event, I forget which state it was. I think it was Pennsylvania, where they had just convicted a gang member, I'm guessing, So it was a repeat offender, some guy who kept on going out on these shooting sprees. and was killing people left and right, and driving up the murder rate in Philadelphia. And they arrested him, okay, and then they convicted him. And so they were having a press conference about it. It wasn't on mainstream TV, okay? It wasn't. So don't think like you missed it. It's just I watch very weird channels that you probably don't even have. This one's called, it's a Fox channel, believe it or not, but it's called Fox Live. And whatever is happening live, that's what they cover. That's what they cover, whatever it is. It has nothing to do with mainstream media. Anyway, they were having their press conference to celebrate the conviction of this guy. You know that just arresting this one guy brought their murder rate down from like multiple hundreds a year to like, it's still disgusting. They had over 100 murders, but it was half of what it was the year before just by arresting one guy. See what I'm saying? Well, Donald Trump's losing on the crime issue too. He's losing on it because crime is way, way, way down since Donald Trump was president. And, Walz has a great joke about, crime was on the way down, even including Donald Trump's crimes. It's still on the way down. And he's right. He's right about that because, 34 felonies should be a barrier to entry to be the chief law enforcement officer of our country. That should be a barrier to entry. But, in our country, it's not. We've got to do something about it. But all this culture war, all this warrior crap, one person against the other person, and mass deportations and threatening that he's going to deport 11 million people and do away with birthright citizenship, meaning, right now under our Constitution, if you're born here, you're an American, right? And all his Russian buddies that moved here to Florida, just so you know, they all live here in Hallandale and in high-rises, in, high-rise buildings all along the northern part of Miami, southern part of Fort Lauderdale. All Russian. Nice people, but they move here so that their pregnant wives can have American children. It's a thing. It's an actual thing. Now, they will talk about anchor babies, but again, they talk about anchor babies as if they're brown. These are Caucasians from the Caucasus, where I'm from. They're pasty white. Doesn't want to talk about that. However, no one should talk about that. Know why? If you're born here, you're an American. He wants to do away with that so he can deport entire brown families. Yes, entire brown families. If anything would crash the economy, that would crash the economy. The other thing that would crash the economy, his tariffs that we're still paying, that would crash the economy. He would like to replace the whole tax code with nothing but tariffs. 60% tariffs on things coming in from China. 60%. He's a bad man.
Mary had a little man.
The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today. Change has come to America.
Believe me.
Help is on the way.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show. Turn up your mind.
As you may know, I'm a lifelong Republican. All right? Now, I have thank you for your warm response. I have to tell you that I do not recognize my party. It has been the Republican Party has been taken over by extremists that are committed to forcing people in the center of the political spectrum out of the party. So I have something to say to those of us who are in the political middle. You don't owe a damn thing to that political party. In particular, you do not owe anything to a party that is out of touch and is hell-bent on taking our country backward. And by all means, you owe no displaced loyalty to a candidate that is morally and ethically bankrupt. So again, to all of us, I would say, in the spirit of the great Senator John McCain, please join me in putting country over party and stopping Donald Trump and protecting the rule of law, protecting our Constitution, and protecting the democracy of this great country.
So that, yes, he deserves it. That is a Republican. That is a Republican mayor in Mesa, Arizona. His name is John Giles. And he showed up at Glendale, Arizona to support the Harris-Walz Democratic presidential ticket. David French, who's also an op-ed, writer for the New York Times, he actually is a conservative, has been, writing conservative opinion pieces his whole life. He just announced that he is voting for Harris and Walz because he needs to keep democracy. And he has to vote for the only candidates that are committed to continuing democracy. I mean, it's unbelievable what's going on. So you have the GOP for Harris and Walz now. You've got Republicans for Harris and Walz now. You've got George Conway, who's got a psycho PAC to raise money for Harris and Walz. Okay, these are the Republican pollsters and the Republican, lawyers who have worked for Donald Trump before, and before him worked for every Republican candidate that ever came down the pike, from John McCain all the way back to Richard Nixon. And they're all voting for Harris and Walz. Because we are at break point, okay? Like I said, Charles M. Blow wrote a really beautiful piece today about how we just can't take anymore. We just can't. Our beings, our souls, our persons cannot take any more abuse from this guy, okay? It's done. People are tired of it who would support him. I'm seeing more and more people go, this is the same old, same old. Okay, let me show you who I'm talking about. So there was this, they all go to the Hamptons, okay? I don't know if you know this, but Democrats, Republicans, summer in the Hamptons, it's big money, it's big houses, it's big catering, okay? It's big. And they all go out there to fundraise for their campaigns, especially during a presidential election year. It's huge. So, Harris has been out there, Walz has been out there, and so has Trump and J.D. Vance. And they all went out there. There was a big dinner August 2nd in Bridgehampton, okay, New York, at the Cantor Fitzgerald president's house. His name is Howard Lutnick. Don't ask me, I don't know. But Harold Lutnick had a big fundraiser for Donald Trump. Billionaires were there, hedge fund managers like Bill Ackman, sat next to Donald Trump, right? Omid Malik, who is the president of another fund, 1789 Capital. I mean, it's the money that makes money, people that go out there, the billionaires, who don't work. They don't, having them tell us that grocery prices are too high is hysterical to me, because I actually go to the grocery store, okay? I actually go there. I actually use coupons. I actually know where the buy one, get ones are. I stock up. I do it. I also make my own food a lot. So anyway, these guys who like to lecture us about how food prices are too high when they're not in power, when they are in power, they tell us just suck it up, kind of thing. They need tax cuts. So they went out there and they were sitting with Donald Trump, and they were hoping that he would signal that he was recalibrating this campaign and that he was going to focus on policies. He was going to focus on anything he could focus on that wasn't himself. And before dinner, they asked him a question. They said that they had a lot of concerns about the election and that they were at a small little roundtable discussion at Mr. Lutnick's house. And they asked Donald Trump what his new plan is for, retooling his campaign now that Kamala Harris was the Democratic nominee. And he said thusly, we have to stop this steal. And it's like their wallets fell into their bellies. You know what I mean? Like their wallets just closed. I'm sure, a lot of body parts closed. I'm sure they felt it like in the nether regions of their body, that their candidate was nuts, that he was insane, that he told them that he wants to stop this steal in response to how are you going to recalibrate to run against Kamala Harris and this Walz guy. And he just said this new guy is really weird. The new guy is how about this new guy? It was very sick. These are people who watched the National Association of Black Journalists, and they watched Donald Trump say that Kamala Harris was, turning black in front of him. It's like that old song, I'm turning Japanese, oh yes, I think so. I really think so. Oh yes, I'm turning Japanese. Oh yes, I'm turning Japanese. I really think so. I really think so. He actually sat there in front of the National Association of Black Journalists, and when asked, why should black people vote for you, which is a very good question, he literally said Kamala Harris isn't black. She just turned that way. So you know what? I want to show you something. This is an old clip. This clip solves so many problems. People ask me all the time, when is Kamala Harris going to talk about the justice system? I mean, she's a prosecutor and she's got to, when is she going to talk about injustice in the justice system? When is she going to say something, so black men can feel good about voting for her? Do you know that her entire career, she's been talking about that? I don't know if you know this. But I'm going to play you some video that's from yesteryear. This is when Kamala Harris was a prosecutor. I think this file is about, 2.5 minutes. So I'm going to wait till after the break and play it because it should not be interrupted at all. Because you need to hear the caliber of person, the problem-solving skills that Kamala Harris brings to the table with regard to issues of inequality, not just in the grocery store. She's a great trust buster, okay? There's another thing I have to show you about why prices are so high at Kroger's specifically. Very fascinating. But I want to show you that she's a problem solver when it comes to inequality in the justice system and has been for quite some time as a black woman.
All things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
The year was 2006, and young Kamala Harris was protesting the inequality in the justice system and pitching a new way forward, a new plan. A new plan.
The criminal justice system is not working for the African American community. I can tell you as the chief law enforcement officer for a major city in this country that it is not working. We see that in the statistics that you've outlined. 2 million people are in the prison system in this country. Over 40% are African American, in spite of the fact that we only constitute 13% of the general population. It's not working. It's not working when we recognize that African American men, the leading cause of their death is homicide. We are overly represented both as victims and as defendants and as witnesses. Our communities suffer because our babies hear the gunfire every night, so the 7-year-old has post-traumatic stress disorder and cannot go to school the next day and learn. The criminal justice system is not working for us. What I think we have failed to do as a community, however, is own this issue of law enforcement. We talk about these statistics in the context always of it is unfair, it's morally incorrect. Maybe we have learned that from the church. It is morally incorrect. But nobody cares about that. You can look at Katrina. Nobody cares about the fact that we've got a bunch of young black and brown men in prison. That argument is not working. What I suggest we do as African Americans is own this issue in law enforcement and then define it in the way that works for us. Because it is a myth to say that African Americans don't want law enforcement. We do. We want our grandmothers to be able to walk to church and be safe. We want our babies to be able to walk to the park and be safe. What we don't want is racial profiling. What we don't want is excessive force. That's right. What we don't want is to have our civil liberties and civil rights be stripped. But we do want law enforcement. So let's define it in the way that works for us by saying, I want community policing. I want a police department that works in my neighborhood and in my community that reflects the mores and the culture and respects my grandmother, again, when they walk in to talk to her. I want a system of accountability in the criminal justice system that says law enforcement needs to own crime prevention as much as it talks about long sentences. Because nationally, only 18% of serious crime results in an arrest. So if I, as law enforcement, with my responsibility to keep you safe, only talk about keeping you safe by sending people to prison for a long time, I'm necessarily going to fall short because the vast majority of that crime's not even hitting my system. So if I'm going to keep my promise to you to keep you safe, I better talk with you about what I'm doing in terms of crime prevention, which means recognizing that people coming out of the state prisons, 60% will recidivate if we don't get them in reentry programs, if we don't get them in job training, job readiness, get them in programs that deal with their substance abuse, get them in meaningful housing and employment so they don't recidivate. We could talk about it in terms of, is it the right thing to do? Of course it is. But you know, I'm done talking about it like that. I'll just talk about it on this basis. If that person commits another crime, I have to spend $10,000 to try that felony. They sit in my county jail for $35,000 a year. I'm running a reentry program out of my office in the San Francisco DA's office that brings folks back into the community at an expense of $8,000 a year, guarantees them employment, guarantees them meaningful reunification with their family, and in that way, fulfills my responsibility to keep my community safe. So let's redefine this issue in the context of public safety and just simply talk about doing crime prevention, investing in people coming out of prisons is the smart thing to do for law enforcement. Forget that it's just the right thing to do. It's the smart thing to do.
She sounds like she's talking about being black and being black in her community. She sounds, you know, like somebody that gives a damn about, you know, black and brown Americans because she is one of them. So she didn't just turn Japanese. I don't think so. I really don't think so. That's number one. Number two, that was 2006. She was district attorney in San Francisco. She was running for attorney general in the great state of California. That happened much later, and she actually got to try her anti-recidivism programs. Community policing is still a thing that we just, you know why? Because now you have to deal with the police union. That's why. And qualified immunity being what it is, you can't fire police officers. You can't, okay? And if you do, if you manage to, guess what happens? Guess. They show up in another community, policing the other community with the same disrespect that they policed the one that they got kicked out of. So her ideas are the ideas that actually bring crime statistics down. And she understands that the idea of talking about crime as if it's a black thing when only 3% of the population is African American and 18% or whatever her percentages were, 60%, it was a crazy number, were represented in the prison system. You got to know something's going wrong in the policing. You got to know something's going wrong on the reentry, meaning coming out of jail. You can't get a job. You can't get housing. That's a problem. That's a huge problem. And she understood it all those years ago. It's like 18 years ago. 18 years ago. But of course, she doesn't deserve to be where she is. She doesn't. She's only, you know, there because of Willie Brown or Jerry Brown or some Brown, Dr. Brown. I don't know. It's sad. It's sick. It's twisted. This is a person of enormous compassion and intellect. Those two things together produce results, good ones for everybody. So I just wanted people to understand this has been her life's work, okay? This is what Kamala Harris has always been about. It's always been about inequality. And you know what? You got a white criminal, that one of the statistics that just blows your mind is that only 18% of the crimes end up in her system, meaning end up in her district attorney's office, end up in a prosecutor's office in front of somebody who can actually get justice for that crime, right? Only 18%. Why would that be? Why would that be? Well, look at Donald Trump, 34 felonies, right? How many years did it take to bring a guy like Donald Trump to justice? And why isn't he in prison now? That's why. That's why. Donald Trump has $115 million to spend on any case, every case. He's got cases all over this country. But because he can spend hundreds of millions of dollars, not of his own money, it's your money. It's MAGA's money. It's people literally living in trailers, in single wides, not even the double wide, okay? People living in single wides on cinder blocks that are sending him $10 and $50 that he's using to pay freaking lawyers to keep him out of prison. Okay? And he can delay anything. He can actually delay, because usually when you're accused of something, you either want to clear your name really badly, or B, you want a speedy trial. You'd like to get it behind you. No, not Donald Trump. He learned that the way to get out of jail free is to pay lawyers to delay. Delay. Attack the prosecutors. Attack the judges. Attack the jury members if need be. Whatever you have to do. And then you don't go to jail. Because you don't go to trial. I mean, you got trials, and you got the Fulton County trial still hasn't happened. He went after the prosecutor there, right? Went after the prosecutor. You have the January 6th GC. Chuckin just got it back though. Now she's starting to grind her wheels. It's starting to move.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
The enthusiasm around the Harris-Walz campaign is seen at their rallies, no doubt. It's also showing up in new polling that we want to bring to you today, showing the Democratic ticket has made some gains in some battleground states. What does momentum look like in the polls? Harry Hinton is here. What are you seeing?
What am I seeing? So these were New York Times Siena College polls that came out over the weekend. And look, this is Democrat versus Trump margin. This is May, Biden versus Trump. You see plenty of red on this side of your screen, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, of course, that quote-unquote blue wall. This was back in May. You saw Trump up by 3, Trump up by 1 in Wisconsin, Biden up by a single point in Michigan. The trend line here is what's so important. So let's jump ahead from May to August. We go from some red on this side of the screen. Look at all this blue on this side of the screen. Pennsylvania, Harris by 4. Wisconsin, Harris by 4. Michigan, Harris by 4. So you're seeing those comments on Trump on social media kind of going bananas, and you're wondering why. It's because he's looking at polling data like this, which shows clear momentum from Donald Trump to Kamala Harris as Joe Biden's got out of the race. I'll note still no clear leader up here, but you would much rather be Kamala Harris up by 4 within the margin of error than Joe Biden down by 3 in Pennsylvania, down 1 in Wisconsin, and only up by 1 in Michigan within the margin of error. These are 3 to 5 point movements towards the Democratic ticket. Clear momentum, and it's clearly angering Donald Trump.
Woo! It's not just angering him, Harry. It's freaking him. It's making his brain break. Is what it's doing. He cannot feel these feelings. If he feels these feelings, he's going to implode. He cannot carry these feelings. He can't cope. He has no coping skills. He can't. All he knows how to do is deflect and lie and cheat and be a fraud. And as soon as the reality of being all those things hits him, he cracks. He can't cope. He can't deal with being a loser. Can't. I don't know what he's going to do, but whatever it is not going to be healthy. It's not like he'll say, oh, I need a hobby. I need to fly drones, or I need to, do book. I need to cook. No, he's going to do something bad, either to himself or to others, or both, because he is a malignant narcissist. He has a personality disorder that's not been treated. And that's what you're dealing with over there. And that's why he is so bizarre. He's so strange.
We will be creating so much electricity that you'll be saying, please, please, President, we don't want any more electricity. We can't stand it. You'll be begging me, no more electricity, sir. We have enough. We have enough.
What the hell? What is that? What does that mean? That was him at Bitcoin, by the way. That was him at Bitcoin. You want to see him this weekend? This weekend he just literally stopped talking. This rally that he had in Bozeman, from the beginning with the weird ass music and the 7 songs over and over again, like he was tormenting the people that came there. It was like he had to hurt people, and he did it with the playlist. Either that or he was trolled from the inside of his campaign. I don't know which it was, but I will tell you, his opening act was very sick. His opening act was Dr. Ronnie Jackson. Yes, who is only licensed to practice medicine anymore in a military clinic. Okay, Ronnie Jackson can't practice medicine outside of a very regulated military, setting, which is weird. I don't know why they would trust a guy like that with our veterans, because he got exposed as a guy who, on Air Force One, when he was Donald Trump's doctor, he was going up and down the aisles giving the hardworking working press Provigil to wake them up as they landed, and Ambien to sleep through the flights so they could rest up for the next rally. Very sick. He got caught, okay? And John Tester, the Montana Senator Democrat, who's on the Veterans Affairs Committee, exposed Ronnie Jackson as being a drug dealer, basically, with a prescription pad. And so Ronnie Jackson became Donald Trump's opening act in Montana, in Bozeman.
John Tester, at that time, was the ranking member on the Senate Veterans Affairs Committee. He was going to oversee that process. He was also up for re-election. It was 2018. He decided that it was in his political best interest and would help his election if he could come out and be the guy that tore down one of Donald Trump's cabinet nominees. He came after me. He tried to destroy me. He tried to destroy my family. He got together with some disgruntled employees that worked for me at the White House who were upset because they didn't get promoted or get something they wanted during their time at the White House. One of them, in fact, is currently Joe Biden's doctor.
Okay, you're noticing the dry mouth, aren't you? Yeah, you know why? Ronnie Jackson has a little alcohol problem, okay? There but for the grace of God go I, okay? So I'm not, passing judgment. Just saying he's untreated and he has an alcohol problem, a drinking problem. And so in order to get him up on the stage, I'm sure he had to snort something. I'm sure he had to imbibe and then ingest in order to get through this freaking moment. And the dry mouth is really, really, really irritating.
They got together with him and his staff, and they made up completely absurd accusations and lies about me to tear down my nomination. They said that he labeled me on TV as the Candy Man, right? He said that I was recklessly prescribing narcotics. I can tell you, I can count right here on this hand right here how many times I prescribed narcotics at the White House in 14 years. He put that out there. He said that I got drunk and wrecked a government vehicle. Any 2-bit investigator can figure out whether or not that happened. He knew it didn't happen. He knew it, and it's been proven that it didn't happen since then.
Man's got a problem. And Tester doesn't. John Tester has been a Democratic senator from the great state of Minnesota, Ruby Red State, and has represented the people of that state with impeccable bona fides, okay? He has delivered for Montanans. He has respected Montanans. He is a Montanan. They bring Dr. Ronnie Jackson, who's no longer allowed to practice medicine. They bring him to Montana to trash Tester, who was on the Veterans Affairs Committee and knew that Ronnie Jackson was somebody who was compromised. And Donald Trump brings him there to vouch for Donald Trump. It's crazy, okay? It's the madness of the mad hanging out with the insane. Donald Trump loves to talk about insane asylums, and he loves to talk about mental institutions, and he loves to talk about how, I don't know, some imaginary third world country is releasing patients. I think he would call them inmates, but patients from insane asylums around the world. And obviously he hangs out with Ronnie Jackson. who, after he lost his medical license, decided to run for Congress from Texas and is currently a congressman. How did you vote for him, Texas? How?
This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
Hey. Yeah. Wow. Well, you might have seen a few people showed up in Philadelphia the other night. And then 10,000 plus walked into a field in western Wisconsin. And then on Wednesday, the largest crowd of the campaign showed up in Detroit, Michigan. But Arizona just couldn't leave it alone, could you? Wow. You know, it's not as if anybody cares about crowd sizes or anything. So. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, he's trolling. He's trolling, you know, the unstable ones over there, the ones that say at their big fundraising dinner in the Bridgehampton area of the Hamptons, you got to stop the steal. They're like looking at him like, what? Are you insane? You're going to lose.
Honestly, I don't blame him for going straight to we have to stop the steal because he knows he's not going to win, right? So let's cut straight to the chase and say they stole it from us. That's where it's heading anyway, because he's going to lose.
Okay, so that's not what the fundraisers, that's not what the big money donors want to hear. And, you know, another donor, you know, you remember Sheldon Adelson, right? So he died. Everyone we talked about today is dead now. And I just want you to understand what's going on with the Donald Trump elite, okay? There's like no one left alive. It's like don't even think that they're around. 10 million of his voters have passed on. Yeah. That's kind of the age bracket that he was attracting all those years ago. Okay, we've been going through this for almost 9-10 years now. It's hard to believe, but it's true. And people are worn out if they're still alive, and if they're, you know, not alive, either they died because they went to his rallies and they got the COVID, like Herman Cain. Remember him? He was a big donor, big money donor, dead from the COVID. And so now you've got the remaining, you know, billionaires all gathered around, and they're like, what's your strategy for, you know, 2024? What's your strategy? Stop the steal. And, you know, their sphincters had to tighten. You know what I'm saying? Like you could feel like, oh, my God, we're so effed. So Sheldon Adelson, who is dead, he has his wife left, Miriam. And Miriam Adelson is funding to the tune of, I think, $14 to $18 million a week, Donald Trump TV commercials. She's paying for the bill for the Donald Trump TV commercials to play on the TV. And all of a sudden, she's getting these really nasty text messages from Donald Trump's camp. Okay, somebody that is saying, I'm typing this on behalf of Donald Trump. And, you know, Miriam knows who this girl is. They used to call her the human typewriter. She's the one that actually texts for him when he wants to text, okay? Because his fingers, I guess, are so tiny that it doesn't, he can't press the button. I don't know. But anyway, this girl that, you know, Miriam knew was really his girl, was texting, and it was nasty, really nasty stuff, you know, saying he didn't like the way she was conducting the campaign and arguing with her about her priorities and, you know, like a whole bunch of, you know, weird stuff, right? And she got like really upset, and then come to find out that it was one of Donald Trump's other donors that was asking for money from Miriam Adelson to put money into his super PAC. And Donald Trump was, like trying to shake her down by intimidating her and saying she didn't know what she was doing, kind of a thing. And this is the woman who, gives Donald Trump millions and millions and millions of dollars a week, but not on behalf of our country. No, I mean, she's an American and all that, but she does it for Israel, okay? She does it for Israel. She's one of those. Sheldon Adelson and Miriam Adelson, they care about Israel before they care about anything that you could possibly care about in a presidential agenda. And now he's like screaming at her. He's melting down. You understand? The guy's losing his freaking mind. He's going crazy, and now they're fighting each other. They're fighting each other. And it isn't, here's the thing. I don't think it's, well, I shouldn't say it that way. Let me say it this way. It cannot be close. It cannot be close. And it cannot be close in Michigan. It cannot be close in Pennsylvania. It cannot be close in Wisconsin. It cannot be close in Arizona. It cannot be close in Nevada. These have to be blowouts. And I'm telling you right now, when I see Republicans on the stage showing up, not just writing a piece saying I'm a Republican and I'm voting for Kamala Harris and, Tim Walz, not just saying something, not just making a phone call, not just, not just putting a super PAC ad on the TV, but showing up at the rally. See, because that's the hard part, is showing up. And when I see them doing it, when I see them showing up at the rally, when I see them say, I'm a Republican and I'm voting for Kamala Harris because democracy matters, I'm showing up and I'm going to, endorse Kamala Harris as a Republican from this place or that place. When you see that, then you know, not that it's not going to be close, but that there's a big, huge likelihood that we carry these states. Now, if it's close in a place like Georgia, if it's close in a place like Arizona, where there's still a lot of fruity people, still a lot of loopy people, still a lot of nuts, a lot of nutbaggery to go around those states with fake electors and people on commissions that will refuse to certify this county or that county, there's going to be that. And that's why I'm telling you, it can't be close. It can't come down to one county. It can't come down to, a Coffee County again. Not that it came down to Coffee County. Coffee County in Georgia actually voted for Donald Trump, but they knew that they had a friendly election supervisor there. And so when it was time to go steal a machine to make up some BS lie that the machines were flipping votes, they went to Coffee County to steal a machine. Remember that? Well, those people are still around. Those people are lurking. Those people are still going to refuse to certify this or that if it's close. If it's close. Now, if it's like between, if it's like 0.6 of a percentage point difference, that's close. If it's a half a point, if it's 0.5, a half a point difference, then an automatic recount is kicked in most places, most counties, most states. But if it's a little wider, the margin, you don't get an automatic recount. You just get people that are going to refuse to certify. You're just going to get people that are going to refuse to actually, represent the people that voted. There's going to be that trouble in certain places. And that's why it can't be close. The other thing, and I'm going to keep on saying this for the next, 88 days. That's what we got, right? You have to deliver the House and the Senate. You have to. You must. Tester, for instance, is on the Senate. He's on the ballot this particular cycle. Send him back. You have to send him back. Okay. There are so many opportunities. Josh Hawley is being challenged by Lucas Kuntz. Right? Lucas Kuntz is a Marine. Lucas Kuntz has a resume that you could be proud of. Lucas Kuntz is a decent guy, and he's a Democrat. You have to replace these people. We have to give her a Senate. This is the only chance we have to do anything about the illegitimacy of that Supreme Court. This is the only chance we have to do anything about getting money out of politics. If you don't have the Senate, you can't make those changes. You have to have 60 votes. And I don't think we'll get near 60, but we could get better than we are now and start to incrementally flip some Republicans to the right side of things and make them understand that the way they've been doing things has been a soul crusher. Not just for them and their families, but for us. And it's time that they represent what 98% of Americans want. Background checks, red flag laws. It's time they represent what 88% of Americans want. Codification of Roe v. Wade. It's time they start doing the job that they were sent there to do, and they won't do it unless and until they feel like the Democrats have enough juice to make things roll, to make things work, and the momentum is with us, and then all of a sudden they'll be willing. They'll be willing. Just like immigration reform, they were willing.